Hey guys,
Hey
we
guys.
we are live October the 5th at 6 p.m. Eastern. Time is important in this one. Let me set the backstage. I have known Gerry for a number of years. We've been kind of WhatsApp friends. And 2 days ago, we spoke on the phone and it all kind of unraveled from there. So we are live. We're going to bring Gerry into the studio in just a minute. I'm going to play just a short intro reel of his love story with Elena, and I'll be right back and we'll pull Gerry into the studio. Hey, Gerry.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hello. Man, I got to say, Gerry, first of all, my heart goes out for you. I want to just, talk to you here, understand your story. It unfolds like a Hollywood love story.
Well, yeah, perhaps so. Not one with a good ending, at least not to this point anyway. We'll see what the future holds in store. But you want a little bit of background on how we met and so forth? And
first, right now, Elena's supposed to be on a bus to Warsaw, I guess, right? Right now.
That was the plan. Yeah, she was scheduled to leave at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, their time, and I believe the bus was to take somewhere around 8 hours to get directly to Warsaw. And the plan was for her to spend the night in Warsaw, then be on a plane from Warsaw to Vienna, then on to Chicago. And I was to meet her in Chicago tomorrow in the afternoon and spend a few days in Chicago. And that was going to be the start of our new life together in the USA.
Mm-hmm. You guys have been together for 4.5 years. You have a lot of time with this lady. Yeah, please do take us back. Maybe rewind to the very beginning, how you guys met online, and then if you could just unfold your.
Yeah, we met online about, as you just said, Joe, about 4.5 years ago. We met on a dating site that I thought at the time, and I still do for the most part. I thought it to be one of the more reputable sites. And we began communicating via the site. And then after a few days, we went off of the site and started using Viber or WhatsApp. I can't remember which service. And things took off fairly quickly. Our conversations, our chats went well. I think after about 1 week of chatting, we decided to do video chats, and we spoke. We wrote at least pretty much every day, and we would probably meet during those days for video chat maybe once or twice a week. And things started moving fairly quickly. So after about a month of this type of communication, we decided to arrange our first meeting, and we chose Paris. It was fairly convenient for her, and it wasn't so bad for me. It was fairly easy for me to get over there, and prices were good and all that. So our first meeting was in Paris. We were there for, I think, 6 days. I don't want to say it on either side, it was love at first sight or anything like that. I mean, for obvious reasons, I was very attracted to her, and I think she tolerated me. But it was a great first meeting. We got along famously. We enjoyed doing a lot of similar activities, you know, around the city. Despite her struggles with English during those early days, we communicated quite well. So overall, it was a very good first trip. You know, if I were to rate that first meeting out of 10, I probably would give it maybe an 8.5, something like that. It was a very nice first meeting, and it set the groundwork for continuing the relationship and developing the relationship. So
and that was back in May 2018.
Sorry, yeah, that was back in May. Actually, slight correction on the dates. We started communicating in May, and then this trip was arranged for pretty much the end of June in 2018, and we had a little bit less than a week in Paris. So after that trip,
can I stop?
Go ahead.
What do you mean when you say she was tolerating me?
Oh, that was just being
funny.
It was self-deprecating humor. Everything was fine. No, we got along well. She was enjoying her time. She was enjoying me, and vice versa. There were no problems. Yeah.
She came alone without. Yeah.
She came alone. She was without her children on that trip.
Mm-hmm.
So after that trip, she returned to the Ukraine. I returned to the USA. Our communications became more frequent at that point. We arranged our next trip, and I apologize for not remembering the exact timelines, but I believe it was in autumn of that year, autumn of 2018. And that would have been my first trip to Kyiv. And I think I was over there, I want to say for about 9 or 10 days, something like that. That was the first of, I believe, 4 trips to Kyiv. I didn't really consider those, they were vacations, but they weren't really vacations. They were just trips to allow us to have time together and to get to know each other better. And all of those trips went exceedingly well. You know, we enjoyed the city, the restaurants, the nightlife to a certain degree. We spent a lot of time just having casual conversations, trying to understand each other better and whatnot. Her English was steadily improving after each trip. She had studied English in university, so it was slowly coming back the more she had a chance to practice.
So the second trip, sorry, just to follow the chronology, the second trip was in autumn 2018?
That's correct, yeah.
So you think...
Yeah, and then that was... Early, sorry?
September, October?
Yeah, that would have been, I believe it was in, I apologize once again for not knowing the exact time frame, but I believe it was in September, because there was actually a second trip towards the end of autumn / early winter of that same year. So these trips at that point were about every 3 months. Okay. So there was one in early autumn, and then there was one at pretty much the beginning of winter. That would have been in December. And then there was a third trip in that same time frame that happened in February of the following year of 2020.
So each time you're meeting in Kyiv,
2019.
You're meeting in Kyiv each time, whereas she's from Poltava.
That's correct.
Was there any reason you're not meeting in Poltava?
I don't know. I don't know if there is any sort of nefarious reason that she might have had for not wanting to meet in Poltava. During the initial trips, I didn't really question that, because for me, going to Kyiv was such a great experience, and I loved the city, and it was just nice to go there. I think by the time that the third or fourth trip came around, I said, well, look, why don't I just come to Poltava? Her response at that point was, I really enjoy coming to Kyiv. It's more interesting for me. Poltava is a small town. It's not that interesting. And I said, well, maybe it's not interesting for you because you were raised there, but for me, I know there are lots of historic sites. You know, it's going to be interesting for me. But anyway, she kind of poo-pooed that idea, and that never really happened. Also, I was interested in, at that point, in kind of meeting. I hadn't met the children at that stage, so I wanted to meet them. Also, I wanted to say hello to the parents too. But that didn't happen. And once again, the reason for that, she just said that she felt that you know, it's easier, it's more interesting being in Kyiv.
Mm-hmm.
So,
at what point did you meet her children? She has a boy and a girl?
yeah, she has a son, a teenage son, and she has an 8-year-old girl. First I met the son. We met in 2019. I think it was mid-autumn 2019. We met in Berlin. She wanted me to meet him, and he was interested in seeing a little bit of Germany, so we arranged a trip to Berlin, and I came over there, and we had about, I think, 6 days together in Berlin. Everything was great. He was a great kid. Got along very, very well. And it was important for her because she wanted to see the dynamic, obviously, between me and him, and vice versa, you know? So,
well, it's a good sign, right? It's a really good sign that things are progressing, because
yeah,
single moms are usually, why single moms are cautious and slow for the man
right.
to meet the kids. So.
Yeah, she was more concerned about me meeting, at that point, her son, rather than the daughter, because the daughter is obviously a younger child, and you know, just the mentality of a younger kid versus a teenager. She felt that if there was going to be any issue, it would be with the teenager, not with the little one. So, so anyway, that trip was great, and everything went well. And that was, I think, about 2 months before the onset of the virus of COVID. So we had planned actually a trip in, trying to remember the dates, but it was in 2020, where I was to meet the whole family. I was going to meet her stepdad, her mother, and everybody. They were going to come to Vienna, and we're all going to spend time together, and this would be the big family introduction. But because of COVID, that got canceled. So unfortunately, I never met them. Met them a few times on video chat, but that was the extent of it.
Oh, you met them in video chat?
Yes.
And she was translating, or how?
She was translating. Yeah. Mama spoke, could say a few words, a few basic phrases, but her stepdad, maybe he could say hello and goodbye, and that was about it. But yeah, she was translating for them. So, and also her son speaks essentially fluent English, because he's been studying throughout probably the last 5 years of school.
So you had said, Gerry, you took a total of, is that right, 9 trips together, 4 to Kyiv, and then 5 vacations, tropical type vacations?
Yeah, including the Paris, yeah, the initial Paris trip, and then after that, there were 4 trips to Kyiv. And then that leaves about 4 other trips. We went to Mexico a couple times, went down to Cozumel, and we were in Seychelles, Africa. We spent some time there. I think the thumbnail images, the beach images, where you see me in all of my glory, those are in Seychelles.
Nice.
So I believe, yeah, if my math is right, I'm trying to think if there was one other trip somewhere, but anyway, essentially that was it. We've been to Mexico a few times, Africa, and to Germany, and several times to Kyiv.
And how did you feel? How did you feel about the relationship? Did you feel it was, you know, on track? How did you feel about it?
I didn't. Honestly speaking, after each trip, I felt more kind of assured of the solidity of the relationship. The only issue that I really had, and this was probably from the onset. I mean, there were some personality differences. I tend to be a little bit more demonstrative. Perhaps I wear my emotions on my sleeve to a greater extent than she does. Her personality is very stoic, you know, and if there's something, for example, if there's something bothering her, she holds it in, she won't express it, and she lets it affect her. If there's something bothering me, I'm going to tell you. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to let my feelings on the subject be known. I'm not saying that, by saying that, I'm not saying that we had a lot of issues that were upsetting her and she was holding stuff in, but even peripheral issues in her life, maybe some family issues that she might be having with her mom, you know, that affect her emotionally. It ends up affecting our relationship too, because she just internalizes those things and she can't compartmentalize and she shuts down, you know? And if she's with me and she becomes very sort of quiet and introverted, then I'm thinking, well, perhaps it's something that I've done, you know? But once I finally get it out of her, it turns out that it wasn't me. It was something else on the side that was affecting her. And continually, I would have to say, look, if there's something bothering you, like I don't really know what it is that's bothering you. So why don't you just tell me? If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. If not, at least I understand that it's not me that's the root cause, you know? So, but that, honestly, that never changed. That's just her nature. And that's the only real issue that we had, you know? So
other than that, some personality differences, things are progressing. You feel like you're falling in love. You love her. How do you feel about the relationship?
Yeah, that was definitely, those were definitely my feelings. In fact, it was fairly early on that I actually proposed. I think it was let's see, I guess it would have been the third time meeting when we met in Berlin is when I proposed to her. I just felt very comfortable, and we got along great. We were having a lot of fun, and you know, I knew that nothing was going to happen immediately because you have to apply for K-1 visas and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, it's not like I'd be proposing one day and then there'd be wedding bells ringing, 3 weeks later or something like that. I knew that after the proposal, we both have time to kind of let it sink in and truly decide if this is what we wanted to do. I proposed at that early stage just to let her know how I felt, really, and what my intentions were going forward. So,
So did you present her with a ring, and maybe tell us how did that go down?
Yeah, well, that was kind of a funny story unto itself. That was in Berlin, and I'd chosen I did my research on Yelp and TripAdvisor and all that. I was looking for the most romantic place in Berlin, you know, with a great view of the city and all of that, something really quaint. You know, a nice quiet little table. We could have some wine and some nice French food or whatever, and I present this ring. Well, the place I chose turned out not to be actually what they wrote it up to be. Instead of being a very quaint, romantic little restaurant, it turned out to be a hangout for bohemians and college students on Friday and Saturday nights. And the place was jam-packed with guys and girls in leather jackets. There was Johnny Ramone blasting on the stereo system and all sorts of punk rock from the 80s and 90s and stuff. I mean, it was not exactly the kind of place you want to propose in. So I ended up going to the bouncer and I asked him, is there a place nearby that's a little bit more quieter and calm and I kind of took him aside, so this is a special evening, special romantic evening. So he said, yes, as a matter of fact, just down the street, there's such and such a place. Well, we walked at 200 meters, we get down there, and that place was even worse. It was just packed with students and beer. And so anyway, long story short, we found another bar that was up on top of the tallest building in Berlin. We went in there, but that was standing room only. So eternally, I just said, to hell with this. This is just not going to work here. So we had a drink there. We went back to the flat, and I was making some margaritas, and I just decided to take my little lime squeezer. I brought with me a lime squeezer to make a special recipe. But anyway, took the lime squeezer out, and I said, Leanna, I'm having a little problem with this. Can you take a look at it? It's not sort of closing properly. So she took it and she opened it up, and there, enclosed in tissue paper and everything else, was this weird little ball. So she says, "What is this?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm having a problem making my margaritas." And she opened it up and opens up the ball, and there's this engagement ring. So she was shocked. She was just stunned. And I popped the question at that point. She did hesitate for about 15 seconds, and then she said yes. So that was the proposal story.
And when was that? In 2019?
That was 2019. Yes. Yeah.
So you guys have been seeing each other about a year or something like that.
That's correct. Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, so did you get a chance to bond with the children at all? Did you meet the daughter?
Yeah. So after that, I think one of our next trips was actually to Mexico. I flew them out to Cozumel, and I met the daughter for the first time there. So it was all of us together. Actually, that was during the COVID period, when things were just starting to open up. I mean, Mexico was a lot more lenient, I guess, but anyway, we went down there and we met, and that was a great trip. Everybody got along. There were no issues, and I was a little bit nervous, because this was the first time we were together collectively as a family. And I just wanted to make sure that the dynamic was okay, because my trepidation was that, I'm sort of the outsider. Here's this family unit it's been the three of them for a number of years. And I would just be sort of this hanger on, and because she's having to take care of her kids and so forth. But that wasn't the case at all. Everything went really well. It was a great trip. So.
Nice. So after that, how long was that trip in Cozumel?
That was, I think we had about 12 days down there. Yeah, we hit Playa del Carmen for a few days, and then Cozumel for the rest of the time.
And so then, did you feel like you were bonding with the children?
Oh, for sure, sure. They were. I mean, obviously she's a little girl, so at the beginning, she was kind of processing me, so to speak. But I think about maybe after a few days into the trip, everybody was fairly comfortable. And by the second time we met, then it was just like hail fellow well met. She was used to me. She was teasing me, and everything was great. So
great. So then next trip you met the children as well?
Yeah, the next trip would have been the trip to Seychelles, Africa. And that was a family trip, and that was about, once again, that was almost 2 weeks long. It was a wonderful trip. As you can imagine, visiting that part of the world. We went to 3 different islands, a few days on each island. It was a fairly independent trip. We didn't really do a lot of the touristy stuff. We rented bikes and just kind of tooled around the smaller islands as a unit, and it was great. It was a perfect holiday. At that point, my thinking was, this is really working. Everything is good.
Felt like a family, and
yeah,
you felt that she was happy with the bonding that you were having with the children. She was happy with that, because that's, of course, a huge test, right? To see if the family
for sure. And in fact, like a lot of times when I would engage, obviously my relationship with the son was different, because his English is fluent. The daughter's English she can say a few words, but that's about it. But I noticed that when I engaged with the daughter, Leanna was always sort of, she had her eyes, she was like a hawk, just looking to see how it was going and how the daughter was responding, how I was responding. And as I noticed her, she always had a little smile on her face. So she was very happy with the interaction. So when I saw that, it's like, okay, well, that's good. She feels comfortable with my interactions, with the little one. So that's a positive thing. So.
How old is daughter?
8. During that trip, she would have been, she was 7 actually during that trip. The first time I met her, she was 6.
When you talked to daughter, she was she was worried, or she just was happy?
No, when I would speak to her, these weren't obviously real conversations because my Russian is just a few silly words, and her English is at about the same level. But with Elena around and with her son around, both of whom speak fluent English, everything was always translated instantly. So there was a nice rapport. But it was always fun. It was always happy. A lot of teasing back and forth and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she wrote you today messages in Russian language.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Why? She speaks English now, no?
She speaks English, but when we communicate on Viber, it's always Russian.
Well, you just hit one button translate. And
I know, but it's translate wrong, It's a lot of misunderstanding.
We have that problem. Unfortunately, we have that problem. Maybe I always get the gist of what she's writing, but sometimes when the message might be of a little bit delicate nature, then it becomes a little bit dangerous because the interpretation of every word is important. And sometimes the wrong words are chosen and it takes the conversation sideways and people get offended, and it happens both ways. So unfortunately, it's not always ideal for every situation. If it's some casual conversation, then there's no problem. But if it's something a little bit more serious, then there have been some problems. In many occasions, we've had to go back and forth many times. I would present her with what I got vis-a-vis the English translation, and I would send that back to her, and she would say, "Oh no, that's not what I wrote. I wrote this," and she would rewrite it another way, and I go, "Oh my God, that has completely different meaning," So yeah.
Language
barrier. But she speaks English, but it's not perfect. She speaks well enough so that she can be understood. But a lot of times she's fumbling for words, and she'll even ask her son and so forth. So,
how was your communication over the 4.5 years when you weren't together? Was it daily video chatting? How was it?
When we were together, typically we would video chat on the weekends, and we would we would chat by text virtually every day. Not always. I'm working, so it wasn't always. I wasn't always on my phone chatting, but just common things. Just how's it going? How's your day? If something new or unusual happens, you talk a little bit about it, kind of thing. It's just regular day-to-day chat. But typically, we would touch base every day, usually a few times a day. That's how it was. Up until the time that the war started. After February 24th, everything changed dramatically relative to our communications.
Yeah. And that's the question I have. When war started, everybody was in such a big shock. And no requirements in any border for Ukrainian people. Doesn't matter, you're single mom or who are you. You don't need any permission for a child. Everybody was fleeing.
Right.
Our clients even, they was fleeing to pick up ladies who was in communication for 1 month. They fly to Poland to meet and flee them to Australia because, they started this relationship. They was such in a big shock, and having this man's support, they were so much appreciative and grateful, and they just understand, okay, there will be opportunity to build relationship, to develop. But there was this was like, yeah, like a fresh, like opportunity to start new life, yeah, with a supportive man, because we, in happy days it's easy, but in difficult times you really see the personality. So what happened when war started? Why she didn't immediately go to you? Because she already know you very good through years. She probably don't have any doubts, you're not
4 years.
Yeah, for 4 years at that point. Well, at that point, she didn't really have, well, there are a couple that, it's a little bit complicated question because there's some layers to that. Number one, at that point, the USA hadn't established the Uniting for Ukraine program, so she couldn't get over so readily. At that point, we were still in the midst of the K-1 visa process. So what I ended up doing, well, first of all, taking a step back, we had a bit of a disconnect vis-a-vis the war, because basically our thoughts and feelings on what was happening, not just after the war started, but leading up to it, were diametrically opposed. I mean, I was inundated with news sources from around the world. I had a really good feel for exactly what the inevitability of this conflict was, the fact that it was going to start. Despite the fact that Lavrov was saying that, calling Americans hysterical, there's going to be no war and blah, blah, blah. I mean, obviously that wasn't the case, and I knew that wasn't going to be the case. But as you guys probably know, the feeling on the ground in many parts of the Ukraine was not that. A lot of the people, I don't want to say they had their heads in the sand.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I don't know if they really did or not, because I think a lot of people over there weren't getting the same, like we were just bombarded with this news. Every time I turned on the TV, I saw Maxar technology images showing the Russian buildup around the peripheries of Ukraine. They obviously weren't getting that. So everything was hunky-dory there for the most part. It was life as usual, and they really didn't feel that Russia was going to attack. Unfortunately, she was one of those people. About a month before the conflict started, I began to tell her, it's time to leave. Get out, go to Warsaw, and just hunker down there for a bit. And I said, there's no harm in that. You're going to be out of harm's way. And if what Lavrov is saying is true, that Americans are hysterical and there's not going to be any war, then it's no harm, no foul. Okay, so there's no war. You go back to Ukraine. What's the big problem? But I said that, I iterated that several times. Every time I said that, she became more and more angered with me for saying that. She called me hysterical. She said I was being hysterical. Nothing is going to happen. Everybody's going about their business. And I got frustrated hearing that, because I knew what what was about to transpire. So ultimately, the war started, and initially she didn't just run for the hills at that point, because initially it was kind of relegated to Donbass, and I guess, to a lesser degree north of Kyiv. And she still felt relatively safe in her area. She didn't think that there was any immediacy in having to leave or anything like that. But that changed about 2.5 weeks later, I guess. Once they started bombing Kharkiv, she could actually hear bombs exploding 150 kilometers away. And they started getting air raid sirens consistently at that point in her city. So once that happened, then she decided that it was time to go, and she did leave. It was a crazy period. Initially we had her set up to go to Romania, and then she was going to traverse her way up to Poland from there. But she got on the little minibus or whatever, started heading towards Chisinau, I guess, Romania. But about 20 kilometers for the border, everybody got off, and then they were going to take some smaller transportation to the border. But a lot of Ukrainians at that point weren't going to Romania. They were taking some other bus that was taking them up to Lviv. So they went to, she decided to go with them, and they went to Lviv, and then they were able to find direct transportation at that point to Warsaw. That whole journey from the time she left her city to Warsaw, she said, took about 32 hours. It was brutal. It was insanity. But ultimately she got to Warsaw. But now keep in mind that we're already 3 weeks into the war. So many people who already fled, they're already in Warsaw. It was a bitch trying to find accommodations for them because all the flats were rented. She was lucky to find something. The prices were high. But we did find something, and she stayed there for 1 month, and didn't feel comfortable because she didn't have any friends. She had one friend that was in Warsaw with her initially. That friend decided to leave to go to Geneva, so she was by herself with the kids. Another one of her friends had a bunch of, she was with the Ukrainian community that had gone up to Ireland. They were in Cork. So she decided to join them just so she could be around some comrades and just feel more comfortable. So she ended up spending 2 months there, and then decided to answer Anna's question. You asked why she didn't just come over here initially. So around the middle of the summer, I believe, is when I was actually able to get the Uniting for Ukraine travel authorizations approved. So we had those in hand, and most people were saying, well, what's she doing? Why didn't she just come over here immediately? She has them. What's she doing? But she had this notion of returning to Ukraine, tying up business and loose ends, doing that for about 3 weeks to a month, and then coming over because she wanted to change the title of her flat and all this stuff, and also have some dental work done and this sort of stuff. So she did that, and the time frame for doing that was about 1 month. And we had the departure for her to come over here set up for, what's today? Wednesday, right? It's set up for tomorrow. She's supposed to leave tomorrow from Warsaw. This past Monday, she received a summons saying that she must report for non-military specialized duty based on the fact of her education and her past profession being a police officer. And there was no way around it, you know. So and instead of being on a plane, you know, in 2 days she's going to be, or in 3 days or so, she's going to be reporting to duty at a government office, helping onboard new military conscripts. So.
Just to fill in the gap there, why did she go to? So she went to Ireland. Maybe she went.
Yeah, she went to Ireland just to be more comfortable, to be around more Ukrainian people. There are so many Ukrainians that went to Ireland. She felt very isolated in Poland.
When she went to Ireland, was she already approved by United?
No, not yet. Not yet. She got the approval. The Uniting for Ukraine approval happened. I think it was in July. It was around the middle of July, and that approval was good for 3 months. So theoretically, the timing was fine. She was going to leave Ireland, go back to Ukraine
for 1 month,
take care of her business for 1 month. Yeah.
So in August she should fly, but now October. Yeah.
So she left. Well, she left Ireland. Well, she said she would go back September 1st to Ukraine, and that's what she did. She went back to Warsaw. She got on the bus and she went back to her city, and she spent there 1 month. And for me, this was like probably the slowest 1 month of my life, because I'm thinking about what's happening on the news, whether this conflict is going to escalate and maybe start affecting her city. It's a war. Everything's unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen, you know? So like I was telling you earlier, Joe, Murphy's Law, right? Whatever can go wrong, did go wrong. I mean, everything was lined up for her to get out, but within 3 days of her departure, she gets this conscription notice to come in and help the cause, you know?
This it hurt. I just don't understand. If she was approved in July, why it takes so much time to
That was her choice. She could have left as early as July the 11th.
She says she 1 month, but she instead spent 2 months.
Well, she finished her time in Ireland. So she finished August in Ireland, right? And this is the part, these are good questions. I don't really understand it because my thinking is, okay, if you need to finish business in Ukraine, then just go back to Ukraine. But I think a part of her thinking was that if she waited until the end of August, she was hoping that things would calm down even more in Ukraine and that it would be safer for her and the children. Things wouldn't be as hot on the ground, you know? Whether that made a difference or not, I don't know, but that's the way she was thinking. That's why she didn't go back to Ukraine in July when she got the approval. She waited until the end of August to go back.
What was the reason? To take care about business? And can I ask?
Yeah, she needed to.
She didn't
These are her words. Like I don't have, like I wasn't there, so I don't know exactly what was going on. All I know was what she told me, which was that she was transferring a property from her name to her mother's because she ultimately wanted to be here forever for an extended period. This is what
1 hour
me.
to transfer. You just do. This is 1 hour to do this transferring.
Well, that's what I was thinking, and I told her, I said, why do you even have to be there? You can have a notary public. You can give somebody power of attorney.
Power of attorney, you can do even in America.
And well, that's what I said. And she goes, her response was, no, maybe in America you can do that, but in Ukraine you can't. So I don't know. Like what you're saying, Anna, I agree with totally, and those are the arguments that I presented to her. But those arguments were rejected, and she said that no, I have to be there to do it. And I mean, maybe there are other things too. I mean, some less tangible things. For instance, she was raised by her grandmother. Her grandmother is 90-something years old, so maybe in the back of her mind she wanted to see her babushka, and she wanted to say goodbye. You know. That's all I can come up with, really.
She said goodbye when she left for UK. I mean, or to Ireland, to Poland, wherever. Those people, all who was leaving Ukraine, they never know when they'll come back or will ever come back. You know, it all was leaving because of big panic and. I don't know. I can talk some.
I'll just ask. So, can you give us an idea? I mean. When did you start and how did you financially support her and the family?
I started about a year into our relationship. I began to support her. They were having economic problems in Ukraine at that point. A lot of government employees were not being paid in a timely fashion. And at that point, the budget for the federal police was minuscule, and I think it was just the mucky mucks that were actually getting a salary. You know, the low-level officers were just not getting paid. So she worked for, I think, the last 3 months without any salary whatsoever. And then she said, you know, why am I doing this for no salary when I can just take care of my children for no salary, right? And at that point, that's when I stepped in, and you know, I started helping her. And I've been helping her. That was 3 years ago. I've essentially been helping her ever since for the last pretty much 3.5 years, almost.
I mean, you know, you already were in a relationship for a year, which is normally a good time. You know, like you tried and tested the waters. You've been together, and so this is typically a time that is, you know, good to step in and support your woman, right?
Right. Yeah, at that point I felt confident. I didn't have there were no red flags and or anything like that. I felt confident in the relationship as it stood. I felt confident about the possibilities going forward. Everything seemed to be pretty good.
Yeah,
So,
because if you don't like flipping this thing on its side, if you don't step up and support her after a year, you're going to lose a Ukrainian woman.
oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah,
Amen.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
if it's a chat relationship, because this is mostly was, you know, you didn't live together, you know, like
mhm.
it's a distance relationship. It's
Yeah.
even much more difficult.
Can you share with us, Gerry, just the level of support and how you ramped it up and ballpark total?
Yeah. This is where I probably start to blush a little bit. In the beginning, it was fairly nominal, you know, at least from my perspective. It started out, I'd say on a monthly basis, probably $400 to $500. You know, basically, I started out replacing her lost salary, you know, which was in the $400 to $500 range. As time wore on, well, first of all, her, you know, what she told me as time went on was that, you know, she wasn't really surviving that well on that $400 a month, you know, with the kids and their obligations. And she's the type of mother that wants to give as much as possible to the kids in terms of their activities. For example, both kids were enrolled in extracurricular classes. The son was enrolled in specialized IT training. The daughter was learning outside of school, learning English with a private tutor. There were sports activities at a high level for both of them. So all this stuff adds up, and she was sacrificing. She couldn't afford these things, yet she was still grabbing money from, you know, wherever to be able to do this for her. So as time wore on, I began to help a little bit more with a lot of that, the non-day-to-day you know, necessities too. And then, you know, there were periods when, you know, somebody would get sick. She would get sick, or one of the kids would get sick. She wouldn't always resort to standard care. She went to some of the better care in her city, and this is more money. So I stepped up to the plate there to help out with those expenses. And with kids that age, you know, they're always getting sick, right? And she would have issues occasionally herself. But anyway, to answer your question, it started out in that $400 to $500 range, and then probably after about a year, it got up to about $1,500 a month. And that pretty much enabled her to live what she, you know, felt was she could do everything she needed to do, buy the food that she was comfortable with, have the kids doing what they needed to do. She could take care of her beauty needs and all this kind of stuff, and everything was good. I questioned it, of course, because I did my research, and I think, Joe, I reached out to you and Anna at one point. I was asking you, I know it varies by city to city. I mean, Kyiv is different than Poltava, is different than Sumy, and so forth in terms of average
I remember
salary.
when we had that chat.
Yeah.
We were living in the dacha. I remember we were living in dacha, and you said, yeah, what's a good amount? What's a normal amount to support your lady?
Yeah, because I understand that in Moscow, $1,500, you're going to make ends meet. You're going to put food on the table. You're going to pay for your flat and for your electricity, and that's probably it. It doesn't really go that far. But with the average salary being in, you know, outside of Kyiv, being in that sort of anywhere from $300 to $500 range, I began to have questions about, well, you know, how you should be able to live an exorbitant life on $1,500. You shouldn't just be barely paying for your expenses, you know. But, you know, we actually sat down and we did some budgets together, and we went through everything, like everything she spent money on, because I needed to know. And the numbers didn't lie. You know, they were right on. I mean, it was just the lifestyle that she was living, but there was nothing extraneous and so forth. There was nothing left over at the end of the month. Now, you have to ask the question, well, was all that stuff really necessary? Was the average person in her city sending their kids to specialized IT training and private tutor English classes? Well, probably not, you know. But that's what you wanted to do, and that's what you needed the funds for. And for better or worse, I facilitated it.
So my question is, how did the payments ramp up? You know, like from 500 to 1,500 and continued like.
Oh, how did it go from that? Well,
like, was it your initiative, or did she ask you?
No, it wasn't. No, we talked about it, and I think what might have happened is that in one case she said, look, this, you know, I'm in a difficult situation this month. This is what I need, and this is why I need it, right? And I obliged, and then at that point there was no turning back. But my philosophy was, well, you have X number of dollars a month, you know, why aren't you doing what you can do within that set amount, you know? We differ in terms of that approach. She always wants the best for her children, so she knows that I have the wherewithal to help out. So she was probably taking advantage of me in that respect. She knew at the end of the day that I would facilitate it, which is what I did. So do
you feel that she kind of persuaded or manipulated you when the amount was going up to pay more?
She didn't persuade me, but it was manipulative. Because it was just sort of presented to me sort of after the fact, you know, with a nice smile and so forth. Oh, by the way, you know, blah blah blah, and but it didn't. It hit that level, and then it stayed there, and she was able to meet her obligations once, like everything she wanted to do for the family, she was able to do, obviously, at that level. It didn't just keep rising, but when it did make that initial jump. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, I was definitely sort of manipulated coyly into doing that.
It's $1,000 to $2,000 per month. Last.
It was consistently about 1,500. Before the war. For that 3 years, I guess, and whatever that time frame was. And then once the war started, then all hell broke loose, because now you're not in Ukraine, you're dealing with expenses in Europe, and that's a totally different kettle of fish at that time.
What would you say it is all in, you know, your total support since you met her 4.5 years all in?
Considering the expenses, the higher expenses, it went up to about $2,000 per month during the war months. And but I think it's roughly about $60,000 all in over this whole period of time. And that would also include there are a few things that would pop up out of the blue, like emergency medical situations, or, you know, a tooth that needs a root canal or something like that, right? So that would include pretty much everything.
Sorry, it's tooth?
Tooth.
Dental.
Some dental.
Like emergency dental work.
And you helped her parents, did you, as well, a little bit?
I helped, not so consistently. I did. Her stepfather lost his job at the beginning of the war, and for that first month, I did help replace his salary for that month. But that was pretty much it.
So the $60,000 doesn't include your trips, your 7 trips and vacation expenses. No.
Nope.
How much do you think all of that is, like the vacation, the trips to Ukraine?
Well, I'd have to think about that. I know Seychelles was, for me, a shock. I didn't do my due diligence going into that trip. It was a lot more. I mean, the flights weren't so bad, but if any of the viewers have ever been there, they know what I'm talking about. Once you hit the ground in Seychelles, then things are probably about 3 times more expensive than what you would find in North America from the standpoint of restaurants. and so forth. So I think that trip, that was probably like a, all in, that was like a $10,000 trip. And I was expecting it to be about $5,000, $6,000, something like that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The trips to Europe really weren't so bad. Mexico was I've been there so many times that I know, you know, I know what the expectations are there financially. But yeah, Seychelles was a shocker.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, all in on the trips, I'm not sure. I'd have to think about that a little bit. But you have one $10,000 trip, and then the trips to Mexico probably $4,000, you know, each. So let's round it up to 20,000. Berlin, that was just a short number of days. Kyiv was very inexpensive, but I don't know. You can do the math on that one. Probably all holidays, all of those 9 holidays, maybe $20,000 to $30,000, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Honey, anything? So how do you now fast forward to kind of like today? She's supposed to be on a bus right now going to Warsaw and on a plane tomorrow to come and see you. What has she said as of late?
So up until the weekend, well, first of all, to kind of preface this part of the discussion, our communications after she got back to Ukraine had really diminished. It wasn't the same as they weren't the same as they were in Poland, nor as they were in Ireland. We still had more or less normalized communications. When she got back to Ukraine at the beginning of September, communication just dropped off probably about 50 or 60%. And this was probably due to a few reasons. First of all, in the last couple of weeks, I guess in her city, they were having electrical problems. I think some power grids south of the city and north of the city had been disrupted. So their broadband internet was sporadic, you know. So sometimes I'd send a message and I would see that she's not getting it until like 10 hours later, you know, and there was no real-time communication. If she sent me a message and I responded, she might not respond to my follow-up message for another 4 or 5 hours. So I really didn't know what was happening with the internet service. I you know, giving her the benefit of the doubt, I just attributed it to that. But with that said, the communications were bad. I didn't really get a sense for what was going on with her, or how she was doing, what she was thinking about coming here, or any of this. I did notice that when I talked about certain things that I was doing here to try to get the place ready for her, and you know, get beds set up and buy beds for the kids and all that, I did notice that there was an acknowledgement, but there was no real enthusiasm or exuberance behind that acknowledgement. And I thought that was a little bit strange, because she had never been like that before.
And that's starting September when she went back to Ukraine.
Yeah, this started. This would have been within the last. This type of demeanor I started noticing within the last 2 to 3 weeks. You know, like she did not initiate any conversation about the transition to America. It was always me that was talking about, oh, you know, do you have your ticket yet for Autobus, you know, and all of this. How many bags are you bringing? You know, I need to buy checked luggage. I need to go online and buy checked luggage. How many checked bags are you going to be bringing? And this type of thing. Like normally she tells me in advance, like all of our other trips, she says, look, I'm going to need to check 3 pieces, make sure that, you know, you bought that baggage at the allotment,
no planning,
right?
No planning procedure in mindset.
Yeah, there was none of that for this trip. It was only me. It was just coming from me, and I just felt that was really kind of strange, and it began to give me kind of an uncomfortable feeling in the old gut of the stomach. You know, something just didn't feel right. You know, and you know, one of my daughters, my oldest daughter, was also helping me prepare and just get little niceties to prepare the you know, to receive her at home and all that kind of stuff. And my daughter asked me, she said, "Is it, you know, Pop, is everything okay?" You know, and I said, "Well, yeah." And she goes, "There's something off. You just don't seem." I said, "Well, I really just don't know what's going on. I don't have a good sense of how, if she's enthusiastic about coming or what's going on. I know there's she was in the middle of a war, and she told me several times that the situation in her city was just terrible. She said it was just so stressful every day. Everything was just a mess, you know, and she's dealing with 2 kids on top of that, right? So I had to give her the benefit of the doubt with respect to that, you know, and I was saying, okay, I obviously, you know, God willing, I'll never experience anything like that myself, but I had to be somewhat empathetic and assume that that's what was kind of blunting her emotions towards coming over here. So, but still, I just had this queasy feeling that just something wasn't right. And then on Monday, when I woke up in the morning, I saw a message from her saying that she is not going to be permitted to leave, that she's been summoned to perform non-military duties, and she doesn't have information about when she has to start or where she's going to start, but she cannot leave the country. And at that point, that's when I started, like I mentioned it to folks over here, and they said, "Well, wait a second, she has 2 children, both of whom are minors. You know, why can't she leave?" And then that's when I followed up with the Ukrainian lawyer to find out, you know, how single mothers were being qualified over there. And that's when they said, well, no, if there's a father in the picture who, at least on paper, provides some sort of support, then she does not qualify as a single mom. So she can't be exempt from this service. So everyone that I talked to said, regardless, she should just leave. She should be on that bus and she should go. But then they also said that what the lawyer told me was that if she left on that bus, that there's a very good chance that she would never be allowed to return to her country, you know. So I don't know if that was really the case, or if it depends on the situations or not. Obviously, for military service, for true combat service, I'm sure that's the case. But in this situation, but if she was aware of that, I don't think she would have been willing to make that sacrifice.
And then what has she told you? The most recent thing, what was it, today or yesterday? Today, I guess.
Yes. So actually, it was yesterday. I might need Anya's help on this a little bit, because once again, it was all written in Russian, and I'm just dealing with the translated versions of it. But pardon me. You know, her initial expression to me was that her life has just been turned upside down. She says she's absolutely shocked. She's devastated. She said that she didn't know what to tell me, but she says that her life has taken a different path now because of what's happened, you know. And and I think in the last message, she was saying that the situation is very serious for her, and she seemed to think that I wasn't understanding the gravity, the seriousness of the situation and what she was having to deal with. But she didn't say anything specifically about the future. But she just said for now, she would not be able to travel. So, but it's where I'm having issues right now is once again, at the beginning of this discussion, Joe, you asked me about our communications, how often we communicated. We, you know, as I mentioned, we communicate every day, you know, several times a day.
Yeah.
For the most part. And then quite a bit on the weekends. But today I didn't receive anything. There was nothing. There was no good morning, no hello, nothing. Yesterday, yeah, there were the back and forth messages. Before that, I think Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I hadn't received any communication. So I'm not sure what was happening then. I'm thinking that maybe she had heard about this possibility then, and she just had that on her mind. I don't know. I don't know why there was no communication.
Mm-hmm.
But things are different now. It's the communication isn't. It's very factual. It's to the point. There's no warmth or anything behind it. I don't know if Anna would concur with me. Having read this, it's like very to the point and very businesslike.
Yes. I will say, Gerry, you know what? I've never heard your whole story like this before. I'm just trying to sit here, process, take it all in. In my mind, though, I'm asking the question from the beginning. What was her intention? This is what I'm trying to. I'm looking for red flags from day one, and so far, I can just express to you that some of the things that popped up for me based on my personal experience, actually, as well as marriage agency owner experience, is that it's a sizable red flag that she didn't, on the third trip, say, invite you to Poltava. On the first, I can understand. Second, maybe, but beyond that, 4 trips to Ukraine, after such a long period of time, and what I found out, why ladies don't want to do this, they would rather come to Kyiv.
I can tell this as a lady.
Okay, you answered the question, and I found this out personally because it happened to me. So I'm speaking from personal, but go ahead, babe.
Yeah, this is also for me. I make notes of of red flags that all that I see, catch here, because I'm Ukrainian. I know a little bit more, ladies, how they think and who is, has serious intention and how they behave when they have serious intention, and, this thing. So, yeah, this thing that she didn't want to meet with you in Poltava, it's a small city. People will, talk about her personal life. It's much easier to go to Kyiv, to be lost there in millions of people, and keep it private, because maybe, the thing that maybe she can have several Gerrys, unfortunately, This is the truth, and she don't want people to discuss this, because in small cities like gossips, or how it's called, when people blah blah blah,
gossip.
Gossip. And
lots of gossip in Poltava.
Yeah, and somebody even can, if she will continue to bring, foreigners men there, some good Ukrainian person can tell you, listen, she's bad girl, trying to use very simple Ukrainian language. But in Kyiv, you just like melt in, lots of people, nobody knows her story. Who are you, And,
but honey, what do you think about after the third trip, not inviting him to Poltava to meet the children,
no,
etc.?
Even the first trip for me, this is not normal. I can tell you, our ladies, when they meet for the first time in Kyiv, they come into office. It's when before war, we talk about normal conditions. Yes, they come to office. They stay one day in Kyiv, and then they want to invite man to her city to show where she grew up, to maybe if everything goes well, to introduce to some friends, not to family, of course, but but show her life how it is, this is not, not convenient in Kyiv.
Yeah, it's I honestly speaking, I met most of her friends online. They were in Poltava, but I met all of her best friends. One of those friends actually I met in Warsaw. She was in Warsaw while I was there visiting. So it's kind of strange. I didn't physically go to Poltava, but I met probably about 5 of her best friends just on chat. And then I did meet the family a few times on chat. And then, prior to COVID, we did have that family, to meet, officially meet the parents planned for Vienna. But like I said, none of those included being physically on the ground in Poltava. So, there could well have been some kind of trepidation there for the reasons that you highlighted. I don't know. I just be.
Okay, can I continue with
I could chalk it up to maybe she's just very cautious. She does have 2 children, but I can say it's not an indicator of seriousness. I can say, but I think it's still explainable, possibly explainable. Go ahead, honey.
Yeah, but there is many.
Yeah,
many
we're
things
adding them up
picture.
as we
Yeah.
go.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
just based on your story, on your
Yeah.
feelings, and I see your feelings. They are not lying, and that's always the best what guys can do. Just trust their gut, And I see you felt something wrong was there, and this was true. This your intuition never lies. I mean, I don't want guys to be paranoid, but at the same time, just don't lose, general sense about things,
Right.
So when you make proposal to her, okay. Another thing, I understand. You took 2 years before you do proposal. Yeah?
1 year. 1 year.
One year.
Yeah, about 1 year. Yeah.
And then visa was approving for next 2 years, or you
no, the
K1.
That's where sort of all hell broke loose, because the proposal was done a couple months before COVID hit. If I had started the visa process, I think maybe a month earlier or something like that, I probably would have had based on what other people in my area had experienced, I probably would have had that thing approved in 3 months. But once COVID hit, the government obviously shut down, and they weren't processing those visas. So it went the better part of 2 years. And then just really quickly, what happened with that K1 visa? Once the war started, a lawyer here, currently I'm in Minnesota, a lawyer here told me that, because of this war, due to these exceptional circumstances, you can have this visa expedited. So he told me how to do it. I went and expedited it. And I think within 1 week, she was bumped to the front of the queue, and we started getting all the secondary paperwork that we needed for that. But the timing of that was around the same time as this Uniting for Ukraine program started. So I was dealing with both things simultaneously. And at one point I had both in my pocket. I still have the K1 approval.
If I understand you right, she could have come to you within first months of the war?
No. I was saying if I had submitted the application before COVID, then it would have been approved within 3 months.
I understand.
But yeah, I didn't start the process until COVID had already started. So now everything was frozen essentially.
So up to 2 years, delay was.
Even more.
Right.
Even 2.5.
more?
Yeah. COVID really mucked up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So yeah,
Thanks.
you've done her marriage proposal. Yeah. Everything was great. You feel good.
Yeah, it was funny. Everything was fine. I was happy. She seemed to be happy.
It took for 15 seconds to answer, and this is
she
flag.
She paused. I don't know what the metrics are in that. How long it typically takes a woman to respond. And I confronted her on that afterward. I said, it took you a little while to respond, and she said, well, honestly speaking, it was the last thing I was expecting on this trip. I had to kind of process it, But afterwards, everything seemed to be fine, So
no, I just tell you, our words, they can lie, but our initial body reaction, how quickly we answer. The quickly we answer. This is our true, answer.
Okay.
But if it takes time to answer, that's when your brain starts to tricky what to answer. This is not true answer. This is far away from being true. Every woman who love man, who see, who feel good about this idea, she will quickly respond. And this is like you was sure about her, but obviously she wasn't. But okay, we take this. I just tell.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I was sure, and like you just said, most likely at that point she was not, right? Yeah.
But she was also didn't say like I need more time. That's what if women have doubts, not enough time to get to know you, she would maybe say something like this. But here, yes, so she give you hope, but it's like in delaying time. So she was thinking how to answer, not to break it, but also basically not. She was happy that COVID happened. I'm pretty sure this is like was a big bonus for her. You know, this is like giving her opportunity to continue this activity. So
Yeah,
next sign that woman she was angry when you offer her to help, you know, to get out when war started, as a loving man, you know, supportive man, helping her to, you know, to encouraging her to go in a safe area. Her initial reaction was, you know, angriness.
yeah. She was not happy with my suggestion. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if she was angry at me or if she was just frustrated and upset about the whole situation. And she was kind of lodging that frustration on me. I don't know. But she felt that you know, what I was saying was the timing of it was wrong, because she really felt that there was nothing at that point to really worry about over there. And she did say that she felt I was being hysterical, you know, so those, she used the same word as our friend Lavrov.
I mean, you know, in all this story, I see, I can, okay, of course, I will continue now, but okay, maybe I will summarize later, yeah. But
Okay.
this is not healthy reaction, angriness of man who wants to help you, because here her picture ruins, you know, in her plans was never leave Ukraine, actually, you know, that's what was in her mind. She never was planning on this. And now you push her out, and she even don't know, you know, what to came up with reason not to leave, because, you know, she don't have, you know, she don't need any documents, even passport, to get out from Ukraine. It's so easy, you know. So here she have to came up with something why she don't want, and she's angry at you, angry at herself, because she cannot came up the reason, you know, why not go. But I mean, really, a woman who love her man, she would be grateful and happy, you know, especially mother who has children, with opportunity and support of the man who tell her, please, darling, go to safe area, you know, I want to take care about you. She will be grateful and happy about this, but not angry.
Yeah.
This is not some like normal reaction. This is a reaction that she has now trouble that she has to deal with, again, to come up with some lie, you know, and this is make her not comfortable, you know. Now, about salary, no salary in police, okay? This was new job. They was trying to overcome corruption. And many young people go there to get education. It's quickly education, good salary in Ukrainian, by Ukrainian standards. So they was trying to make it like it will be honest police. But at the end of the day, they also was taking money in pocket. Okay, so like it just become bigger,
they switched over in Ukraine, all the police, all the jurisdictions.
Yeah.
Oblast by oblast. They're trying to clean up the police department.
They need to start from top, not from down. They start from down, but this is not helpful. So down, they was taken, but it was like different. I mean, people have hopes. It was like, I don't know, a big hope, but in reality, everybody understood later. So she was, it's also takes, I mean, I don't know with what expectations she goes there. But at the end of the day, it was profession that was given corrupted money. It's again about personal values, you know, person. And there is was never delay in the salary. Delay, of course, it was when Soviet Union crashed. People didn't get money for months, for a year, for half a year, you know. But it never wasn't when in this last years, you know. Economy was very stable, and this was one of profession that young people like, because it was stability and good salary, you know, and people go there. There was no delay. It was purely manipulation about getting money and support. Yes.
Yeah, the time frame for this happening was about 3 years ago. I don't know if there was any different situation. Okay.
September, you said September 2019, yeah?
No, it was...
something right around then, yeah.
The thing is, in Ukraine, the government jobs are very reliable, like Anna's saying.
Yes.
They don't not pay salary. In fact, the army military positions are quite sought after in Ukraine because it's very reliable and decent money.
Yes. I have a friend who went also to,
and
not friend, from my ex-coworker.
I just want to chime in and say,
No
for
problem.
me, what leaves a bad taste in my mouth the most of everything is that it's a balancing act. Yes, a man, there's a point when you can have a relationship with the Ukrainian, especially a single mom, that you do need to step up and be the man, be the provider, provide safety and security. But the thing is, what I don't like is when you increase it to 3 times, like for example, 1,500, it'd be 3 times average, right? Then it becomes a counter incentive, a reverse incentive for her. Could be. You muddy the waters of discernment because now she's getting 3 times normal salary, living a good life. And so why it could be, it could be in my mind is like, okay, but now I don't know, is she into me and she's planning the future, or I'm just, I'm a support mechanism. I'm a what do you call it? What do you call it?
ATM with penis.
Facilitator.
It's an ATM. Yeah. That's
no, it's what foreigners they say. That's what Ukrainian women think about them. No, it's not what Ukrainian women. It's
can I?
Yes.
Sorry, we want to tell you a story. What I'm talking about here. We bought a property. And
can I finish my point and then you?
Finish.
I didn't finish. No,
Joe, please.
Communication.
How rude.
Last month,
But my story is on the point.
I understand.
It's on the same point.
Okay.
And then because you're going to switch the point. No, we're talking about some women use men as a, what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out here. Sponsor. Thank you. As a sponsor. And so we bought a property from a lady, and this lady befriended Anna. She bared her soul to Anna, and she admitted
she had friend. She was like, I don't know.
Okay, but at the time, please, at the time,
she was trying to be my friend.
So she explains to Anna that she had a boyfriend, American boyfriend, with a big age gap. And for 5 years, he was her sponsor.
She was looking at me with big curiosity. When I come with him, who is he? He's my sponsor, or who is him? He's foreigner. And I said, listen, he's my husband. And she like, really? You can sleep with him? I say, like, what do you mean? And she said, but there is no, I cannot perceive foreigner man as a man, to live with, to sleep with, okay. And I say, but I have, Bob, okay, let's call it Bob, who provide me money, and I sleep with him when he come 1 time in a year, and I built house because of him, this house.
And how much did she support? Did she even say it?
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, the point is that went on for 5 years.
She dated Ukrainian man. She never can imagine herself as a foreigner, but it was like for her, just like.
So that's the danger when you're supporting too generously. You can't. Like I said, it fucks with your mind because you don't know really. It's almost impossible to tell, and then you got to rely on your feelings and this and that. And so I really strongly advise against being too generous, which you were very generous. You were very generous.
And taking to Seychelles, all of this. This is like. Okay, maybe you will take me to Seychelles.
Continue.
Okay, so next about bad communication. Last month in Poltava, we have now co-worker much guarantee living there. We in daily touch, no problems with Ukraine now have satellites connection through, thanks God, to Elon Musk. If there is temporary no electricity, when electricity, everybody charge their phones, and this is just an excuse because she was in stress, probably figure out the things that she feel probably bad because you already making.
Let me add.
This is all come to the end because you buy tickets now. Everything will be questionable, your relationship, because this is like come to the end of the story.
Yeah, I talked to Luba. Luba's our coach, and she's living in a small town outside of Poltava region. She says no problem with Viber, audio, video, WhatsApp, no problem whatsoever.
Okay.
Well, I talked to her today. So that's one thing. And anything else, honey?
Yes. no enthusiasm. This is your feeling, and this is your gut feeling, and this is true. Men need to look at these things. When you're planning,
What
and
is
you
it?
say, no enthusiasm about planning, no planning, no talking about this, and this is like, I I know that from story of our clients that our ladies prepared, room, even doing renovation, even in distance. They was changing and, visualizing how they will do, and they preparing to move, and this
Steve
is
and
big
his
things.
wife.
Yeah, I remember
Steve and his
Irina was
wife, yeah.
preparing, and she said, and when she come, she continued this renovation and making this cozy place,
Yeah, that's an
Yeah.
absolute concrete red flag that at some point it wasn't in her mind that she's coming. She pulled the plug.
Well, on top of that, one thing that I didn't mention that kind of piggybacks on what you're saying is that there are two children involved, and obviously they have to transition into American schools. I put a lot of effort into talking to the state school board to find out what was what document, because the son wanted to continue a distance learning program that he's about to finish up, over there. And I needed to find out if that was going to be out and so forth. So the school board told me exactly what I needed. I relayed this information to her. And once again, you would think that a mother would jump on that and have lots of questions and be thankful for all these efforts, but she politely listened, but she didn't really have any more questions or add on to it or anything like that. So that's where my feelings began to kind of go south a little bit in terms of this bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. Because I wouldn't know any mother that wouldn't be really, really enthusiastic and concerned about how their kids are going to transition into school. So
Oh.
yeah, that's a conclusive telltale red flag.
Yeah,
that's a nail in the coffin. Like at that point, clearly her.
Now I will tell also. Parents, they can say hello, because normally those girls who get to have sponsors abroad, they also have family, and sometimes family involved. There is professional scammers where all family involved. And unfortunately, I heard many stories when women take her children, and children are aware, this is John, this is Bob, this is, and they learn not to talk, about things that they. That's why I was asking if she was cautious about what what girl can say or not to say. Because, children they're very honest and pure. And I heard about this region where it was in Odessa, in Zatoka, when from Odessa, there is a lot of scammers. They bring these foreigners, guys, outside, because it's not far away and nobody knows there. It's a resort. So they stay with them there. They bring children to make it more real, because, foreigners guy, he will not think that child can be involved in scamming,
Right.
But mother say, listen, I will buy a new, iPad if you will now play a little bit for me, like so. Or this guy, her son, he wants, probably her to be with you, maybe his true desire to go to, he learn, English, and but he cannot force her to do, she's main in the family, like she's leader, and he just go to Berlin, enjoy, go to Seychelles, travel, this is good.
No, I hear what you're saying. My gut feeling, though, to be quite honest, was that I didn't really start to question any, just from being with them so much and having like interactions 24 hours a day and just the little things, I didn't get any indicators that there was anything off at all. Things really started concerning me. Once again, everything changed after February 24th. That's when just the whole dynamic changed. I don't know if her mindset began to change, and she just didn't feel comfortable thinking about leaving or wanting to leave. But prior to that, for example, a lot of our discussions were about her son. She asked me very specific questions about, okay, he wants to be an IT specialist. what options are there in your state? You know, are there colleges, universities, are there special programs? And she asked me in so much detail. We covered this, you know. So when I heard that was like, okay, she said, definitely he's not staying in. He doesn't want to stay in Ukraine to do that, and I don't want either of the children to grow up there. I want them to have different opportunities than in the USA. So that's what I was dealing with for the period of 3 years. It was that type of dialogue. So definitely with that, there were no red flags. Once again, I just started getting queasy when things just started to break down to a certain degree in Warsaw, when her mood changed. She went into a pretty deep depression, you know, in Warsaw, because she was concerned, obviously the war, she was concerned about her mother, her grandmother, and all of that. It got a little bit better in Ireland, but it still was not good. And once again, during that time frame is when I just didn't have as much engagement with her on a regular basis.
Can
Last
point?
point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Message that she wrote you in Russian. I read it, and I can tell you this is like a very cold message that comes from brain, from, you know, very cautiously wrote. And this is not really like, this can robot write, but not woman who love her man and wants to be with him. This is very, very, I don't know how to say, dry message, you know. This is no communication of.
That's why I wanted you to read that message, because even through the translation, that's how I interpreted it. It seemed very cold, and there was no emotion behind it whatsoever, you know.
This is just manipulation. I'm stuck now with this thing, you know. I'm in stress, but this is just, you know, if you will research this PPL websites now, since war started, they just, you know, double, triple, I don't know, like, because of manipulation now go on other level, because, you know, girls in danger and men wants to save them, and they feel guilty if they will, you know, by accident, you know, somebody will die because they didn't send money to get out from Ukraine, $4,000 or so, you know. This is crazy going on. And so in my opinion, listening to all her story, as much as I'm a very optimistic person, and I don't like when people cut to the chase, and, you know, I wish always to see, you know, the positive things, you know. And there was, you know, like, I see the story from your point of view. You feel romance, you know, over there, but I see her, you know, summarizing everything, you know, from your words. I see that in her scenario, it was just you know, comfortable paid relationship where she had travel, access to travel. She never was going to leave Ukraine, and war just like, in every month it makes so clear that this journey with you will soon finish, and this means she has to find another sponsor, or maybe add some sponsors, because I'm pretty sure, with information that you will find out now, there is you know, you can live very comfortably having, I don't know, $10,000. You can live like a king in Poltava, you know, even with war. And this is the thing, you know. Some women, then they never have in mind to leave Ukraine, and this is the most important question that we try to figure out when we accept our ladies in database, listening and watching their body language, because this is what tells the truth. How she answers the question, you know, if she's really have intention to find men abroad, or she wants to, even we don't pay our ladies, you know, like in scam agencies, you know, but still, you know, we have like always we need to check, you know, because she can use men for like sponsor, right? So we want to see if she's really.
I'll just share our number one onboarding for ladies secret recipe. Trick question. We ask it several ways, but Tatiana asks, and she's crafted this over 21 years. Can I ask why foreign man? Right? You know, why do you want to marry a foreign man? You know, and well, sorry, no, the main one is, are you okay with moving to his country? That's the main one. Yeah. And there's two possible reactions. One, oh yes, absolutely. You know, basically quick answer, no thought. like that, positive answer. And then there's, well, if I love him, if I see my future with him, like this. She looks up and to the left, accessing that part of
imagination of
imagination part of the brain. And this, so the first answer is we deny her from the database. That's it. That type, quick like that, that shows very conclusively ulterior motive. Whereas the latter shows just an honest person. It's an honest answer. And yeah, okay. So where I want to pick this up is, I just want to ask you first, you know, Gerry, how are you? I always tell guys, trust your gut, right? How do you feel, kind of like up until now and at this point? How do you feel? Do you want to continue? How do you feel about it? And do you want to pursue her, continue the relationship? What do you think? Is it possible that you have a future? What are you feeling?
I have ambivalent feelings about that, because when I know I presented a bunch of the red flags, and those, even though I haven't necessarily verbalized those things over time, I felt the same thing. None of this stuff is kind of new to me. So those are always kind of in the back of my mind. Yes, on the other side of the fence, you know, over that course of time and all the time that we spent together, there were so many experiences that countered all of that stuff, like really sincere things that were said and expressed and felt. And so that's why it's really tough for me. It wasn't like it was 100% this questionable individual that had ulterior motives, and those motives were indicated in such and such a way. Majority of the time, I never saw these types of things, you know. So I don't know, maybe it's me with rose-colored glasses on, wishful thinking, but when I just look at the complete package, then I'm just confused, because I have been in situations where there were those red flags there consistently, and maybe I chose to ignore them because, you know, I was head over heels for this beautiful woman or whatever, and I wasn't thinking straight. And in hindsight, obviously, I was, you know, kidding myself. But in this particular instance, it's really tough for me, you know, just because we had a lot of sort of sincere conversations, and just the nature of this situation, you know, with the war and whatnot. I don't know. I don't know. I know this level of stressor can affect people differently, you know. Maybe it's flipped some weird switch on her and everything is just shut down. Or on the other hand, I could be taken for a ride, you know, and she didn't have, like what you were saying, Anna, about her never having the intent. Like during the whole K1 process, she was such an integral part of that process, like working very, very hard to get all these documents and have them done correctly and so forth. I didn't have to prod her whatsoever, you know? So that kind of counters the whole thing about maybe never wanting to leave. And then there was, you know, she would instigate conversations about, oh, when I arrive, you know, where, and this was just out of the blue. This wasn't even a part of what we might have been talking about, but she started talking about places to visit, where she wants to see in the USA, and how long before she meets my daughters and all this kind of stuff. So that's like all real natural stuff. And that's somebody who has some ulterior motive. Usually they don't take it to that extent, where they just in an impromptu way throw out that type of stuff. So that's why I'm confused.
I totally understand you. I agree. There's mixed signals here. It's not.
There are definitely mixed signals.
I hear a lot of these cases, right? A lot, and this is definitely one of the more complex ones. I've ever heard.
It's just very professional. That's all.
Yeah, and I just want to share with you, Gerry, when
And
we
no
spoke.
parents introduction. I didn't say this is the big
Yeah,
one too.
no introduction of parents.
Because parents, Soviet Union
After
time,
4.5
you know?
years, it's very strange.
Well, just, I mean, once again, just a virtual introduction, but not formal. Yeah.
Yeah, and COVID. So that's the other thing. COVID really throws a monkey wrench into the whole thing. But I want to say is that when we spoke, 2 days ago, I just, you know, I only got part of your story, just snippets, but there was enough to just make my gut go, you know? And that's why when we got off the phone, Anna and I ate breakfast and I shared, and her gut started going, like, and we went, oh man. And I consider you like a friend. We've been talking on WhatsApp for a couple of years. 3 years?
Yeah.
And I've been your cheerleader because I know you've got you're in love with the Ukrainian lady from Poltava, and it's you met on a site, and you know, and I just felt like I got to do something. I started asking you these questions and started digging. And so my goal for you here, why we're doing this, is because I wanted you to see the full picture. And I really, my heart's desire for you is to make the right decision for you.
Right.
Here,
right.
You know, but make an educated decision based on all the facts. So
Sure.
basically what we did was all my team got pulled off of all of their tasks, my video editor, my research guy, thank you online. He's one of our loyal followers. He's very good on the
my heart's racing.
because I felt like I'm on a path of doing an intervention. It was just my gut, right? Like I needed to step up, and I didn't know what was going to be the outcome, but it was enough of my gut churning that I had to do something. So for 2 days, my whole team has been on your situation, and I kind of just want to go step by step now and through it, and also help be here for you while you get it, to help you process it. And maybe the reason we have some viewers online is that maybe they have some input as well. And God forbid somebody actually knows her and this has happened to them. But you know what? Matt is online right now. And Matt, when I was doing Scam School 1, he tuned in. He got the YouTube push notification. When he tuned in, the girl that scammed him for $10,000 was right in front of his face. Her picture was on the image, was on YouTube. And he said, he called me after. No, he wrote, right? He said, this is the girl that took me for $10,000 in Kyiv. And he called me afterwards. So Matt is a client. And so stranger things have happened, right? So that's one of the benefits of going live with guys and being online with this type of a situation when you're really, because I can only imagine how your guts are churning and how I would be.
Wait, just so that I'm clear, you're using Matt as an example of another situation, or this situation.
I'm just saying that Matt.
What? I just want to make sure Matt.
Other guy.
I'm just saying this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Both guys, yes. She's continuing,
Yeah, Matt was scammed by the same girl that the guy was telling his scam story, right?
Okay.
They were the same. Yeah. Sorry if I wasn't clear on that.
No, I just want to make sure I wasn't in the triangle with Matt somehow.
No. So let's go through this just step by step. What my team came up with together with what, and the first current red flag is that it's let me
wait a second. I just say a final word. So if it's loving relationship, how you perceive it, she would have gone to you a long time ago with the first opportunity. This is my last
which was July 11th.
Yeah, as soon as she was approved, she don't go to Ukraine to do some business that she don't have even work, to bullshit, do some finishing in Ukraine. She would flew to you long time ago. This is what healthy people do, especially single moms who has children, who has responsibility. They don't bring them children back to war, especially if they have loving man waiting for them with security and, stability and everything in front of you. Just take it, This is what
this is this falls back on me because my daughter told me the same thing, and also when I reached out to an immigration attorney, the guy was wonderful. He, usually 5 minutes is $100 or whatever, but this guy spoke to me for about 15 minutes because it was a Ukrainian situation. So he tried to help me out as much as possible. I explained everything. He's the one that introduced me to Uniting for Ukraine. He said that this thing can get approved very quickly within a matter of days. He said that when it's approved, she can literally be on the next flight over here, and the status can immediately change. If the idea was to get married, you can get married. You can apply to have her status changed without going through the whole K-1 process and all that. It can all happen in a much more seamless fashion. And he said the same thing you did, Anna. He said, why wouldn't you just want to be immediately on the next flight and coming over, So,
and I have an example. So we have a client, Ernesto, and he's been going out with Elena for 3 years now. And oh no, you're flipped on. You don't want to flip that. You want to go back. Do we lose him? Oh no.
Sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, we can hear
Yeah,
you,
we can hear
but your video flipped on its side. Did you turn your phone on its side? Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, call came in. I was trying to screen it.
Okay. No worries. So yeah, just as an example, Ernesto and Elena have been together for 3 years. Elena's streaming on our new channel, ukrainedating.tv. So where there's ladies screaming, Ukrainian ladies, honest ladies streaming every day. So Ernesto said, listen, the war started, come to me. I'm worried about you. And she was volunteering, feeding Ukrainian soldiers, and she was volunteering a lot. And she said, okay, and literally came to him right away. So it's an example, similar length of time, 3-year relationship. And now she's with him in Fresno, California. So the first thing is the cover-up that she's doing, the lie using legislation. So I reached out to a very trusted Ukrainian source with political connections. And here's what he said.
There is no sense to check because it's not prohibited to ladies of any occupation to leave Ukraine. In fact, there was a law, but then it was postponed to October 1st, 2023. So there are no restrictions for a female to leave Ukraine, and it doesn't depend on her occupation.
Somebody mentioned that in chat as well.
Yeah, I saw.
Somebody in chat also said that. So if you dig into it, so it's a complete fabricated lie there. So obviously she doesn't want to go. So that's the first.
Okay.
Yeah. So no. Well,
I will let you because it's
let's
almost
just
2 hours. Are you continue?
Yeah, let's just continue. So then we dug deeper into okay, so what's her motivation? If she's just using you as a sponsor, then typically what we find is we find her online, because it's typically if a girl's looking for guys as a sponsor, she doesn't do it to one guy, she does it to multiple guys. So we started digging, and so yeah, we found her. You hear me? You still hear me?
I hear you fine. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the first one, Charm Date, which is a scam by design site. Yeah, it's purely scams. Now, this doesn't mean anything in of itself. Girl could register somewhere. Her ID could be, her pictures that can be stolen. Like identity fraud, like we've had recently last week with several of our ladies. We told them, and they were shocked. But then we dig deeper, and there's sites like this one. So it's a cam site. It's a cam site. And then there's this one, which is a Eurodate site. And then there's this one. So there was a total of 9 different sites. Same pictures. So we found them by her pictures. So again, really in of itself, it's not 100%, in of itself. Then there's this one, which is a cam site. Yeah, a cam site. But then this is what I don't like the most. this is actually probably a relatively good agency. My partner forever. So they're Canadian. And she writes in her profile there, you know, she's looking for a man between 30 and 51, about herself, somebody sincere. But so I reached out to them today. I've called them 3 times. I just get their voicemail. But I will talk to them. I will talk to their Canadian agency. And then another, what is a fairly decent agency. So this is Ksenia Droben owned her agency. So it's German agency. She lives in Germany. And I called her 3 times today. She doesn't pick up. So again, in of itself, just with this, it's explainable, you know, like, but let's continue. Yeah. You know, because it's all adding up. So we reached out and tapped into a spy app that we use this for our own ladies. So especially with somebody's questionable, but when we're onboarding someone, what you do is this app, you put her phone number, or some Ukrainian, it only works in Ukraine. You put her phone number in the app, and then it shows how other people that are in her contacts, or rather her phone number in other people's phones, how they've listed her, right? How they've entered here. You know, like we always use codes, right? We use different codes for different people, you know, and maybe first name and then some memory code, right? And this, for example, this will tip for a prostitute because, for example, we would see Jenna, let's say, or Evgenia 100, Evgenia BJ, Evgenia, you know, like how guys would enter this prostitute. So that's a big telltale. And if we have that, we see that, of course, we don't accept her into the database. So we use all kinds of kung fu techniques to try to, you know, not have bad girls in our database. So what came up is, oh, wow, we can still see you at the same time. So the first entry, somebody has entered her in their phone with my love, the word English, my love. Now, we don't know when. This is a problem with this technique. We don't know what year this contact is from. It could be from the past. Second one, you want to explain this, honey?
Elena, it's her surname, but in a sweet name written with a smiley, with the kisses, you see, with the hearts. Yeah.
So in Ukraine, you know, they use sweet names, right? If you like somebody, like between couples, it's always sweet names.
Okay.
You know? Lenchik, for example, is Elena's sweet endearment name, but this is her last name in a sweet, endearing name. Yeah. So so it's somebody. It's okay. Only a man does this, Anna.
Right.
Yes?
Right. Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Only a man does this. Okay. Let's continue. So this is a marriage agency. So Elena Marriage Agency. So it's a marriage agency that she's registered with. But again, we don't know when. And this can go back for years. So again, in of itself, it's not, you know, it's not conclusive. Here's Bob Elena. Shows that she met a man named Bob. And Bob is, this only works for Ukrainian numbers. So Bob's not Ukrainian, most likely, but he had a Ukrainian number when he was.
We don't have Bobs in Ukraine.
Yeah. But he could have had a Ukrainian SIM card.
No. It's not SIM card. She met with somebody from Ukraine, and she was with Bob. Maybe in cafe, somebody just exchanged numbers. Maybe it was her friend, you know, and she. It's not very well-known person. Was not like. Acquaintance, yeah, or somebody like this. So somebody read her as a couple of Bob and Elena in his phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then again, marriage agency on the top, and
then it's a name or surname of Ukrainian man, and this is what married men in Ukraine do often. So when his phone rings, it looks like a man calling him.
So he entered her as a man's name. So if she calls him and his wife is there, she sees a man's name. No red flag.
Okay.
Yeah. This photo came up. So it was from 5 months after. So it was from Poltava.
After Paris.
Hmm?
After 5 months after Paris.
5 months. But it'd be 3 months because you told me you didn't meet her actually until you changed it up to 2 months. So it's 3 months after you met. So
it's October.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, October 2018. Yeah, it's from October. No. This photo is from what is commenting here. This photo is from 3 months before October, so September, August. So beginning of your relationship, right? You had met her in Paris.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The websites. Actually, one thing that I did, I don't know, it might have been one of your videos that kind of, inspired me to do it. But I did take images, and I did look at where it appeared, and I saw it appear in multiple agencies. And I did present that to her. I said, look, I'm seeing you all over the place on the internet. And basically her response was, at that time, was that she had applied, I think, with 3 major agencies, and they might have satellite type things going on or something like that. I think a lot of the pictures were the same, but that's what she told me at the time. So, yeah, they were never.
When did you approach her on this? Your face is kind of out of the picture. Like maybe
sorry.
Yeah, no worries. But when did you approach her?
So that was in the beginning. That would have been probably that summer after Paris. Once I started to get a little bit more serious in terms of my thinking, I figured I'd try to do my own limited background checking, and then I saw that she definitely was on the main sites, and I mean, even on the site that I met her, I think she's still there, but they have last visited indications, and it was from years ago. So once I saw that, I didn't think too much about it. But these numbers, that's kind of a different story. I mean, it would be nice if there was some sort of timestamp associated with them, but I don't know. So
one thing we can do is, like I say, I'll reach out to the owners of those 2 relatively good agencies, and I can talk to them, and I'll say, listen, is she registered with you? Is she actively dating? When's the last time they had a date?
That's the key for me. If she's active on the site, that's the issue. Whether she's on the site or not, because I know she's still on all these sites, that's not so much of a concern. Yeah. But if she still is active, then
Yeah, and like I say, I'm not concerned actually with the charm date. Like this one, it's a scam by design. These other ones, no, she could have been. It's from her past. She was obviously a cam model for a time. I don't know when, right? But it's this one here, which is a good agency, and
cam model. It's very well paid in Ukraine. That's where girls go.
This one and the other one.
Who doesn't have
Droben,
life values.
This one and this one and this one. These are the 2 that concern me. So, but hopefully they will talk to me.
And
find out.
I look forward to hearing those results.
Yeah.
But So I don't know. I don't know how to really process all this information. Maybe you guys and some of the folks watching this might have some suggestions for me.
So let's open it up to chat.
Yeah.
So guys in chat, if you guys have been chatting to yourself, 200 messages, very active. If you have a question or a comment, Now, yeah, let us know. So any comments, questions, or help?
No doubts, it's bad news.
Okay, we'll just put up some comments. Okay. Yeah, so this is guys' opinions, right? So it's of course they're not emotionally connected like you is. This is the hard part, you know. But imagine you love her, right? So it's tough. It's tough.
Is this Jean-François from Quebec? Ah, Jean-François. Comment ça va, monsieur? Yeah, no, I know he went through a lot too. So no, I agree, Jean-François. I think most likely it is bad news. I'm not holding my breath for some positive change. I'm hoping, of course, but I don't know. Right now, my approach is I'm not really pursuing her. I'm not writing. I'm just sort of kind of in a holding pattern, and
yeah,
I guess waiting to see what happens. But
can you you're out of camera again?
Oh, sorry.
Pop back. So I'm just gonna put this up because, I mean, oh no, you're blocked.
Sorry. Where is that camera?
This is definitely, you know, he's asking, why did you take her to Paris for the first date?
Why to Paris for the first date? A lot of people ask that. The reason I took her to Paris, first of all, I love to travel. Travel is in my blood. It's just inherent to my existence. And I love Paris. I've been there multiple times. I just love that city. So I was thinking about going to Ukraine, meeting there for the first time, or just making it more interesting. I was looking at, the budget, their budgetary constraints too. The fares from Kyiv to Paris were dirt cheap. At the time I was in DC, it was relatively inexpensive to get over there. So I figured, what the hell, just meet in Paris and do something a little bit different for the first meeting. So
yeah,
it wasn't from this. I just wanted to have fun. It wasn't from the standpoint of trying to be overly impressive or something like that. I just wanted to have a nice first experience.
And the guy asking the question, he's been scammed a lot. So, you don't feel bad. You have support. You have a support.
Yeah.
Mark has been scammed. Yeah. Taken to the cleaners by many times, many different agencies. So he's a match guarantee client from the past. But listen, my overwhelming advice is to just be as low key on the first date as possible. I advise shishlik, and don't, because all of these flashy things just cloudy the waters of discernment,
Right.
And, and you want to be able to discern. Yeah. So John Francis is saying you're a stand-up guy, just some support for you in here.
Thanks.
We all been there.
Monsieur.
Dirty Pond. Yeah. Here's what. Let's give it what a big thank you. He did the digging here. What.
Thank you. What. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think, it's not even, I don't know. It's not about knowing she's on website or she's not on a website. You hear the story, and I see like huge amount of red flags. I see women who don't want to leave her country, who don't want to move nowhere. This was comfortable relationship for her, living in Ukraine, don't need to cook for a man, It's going sometimes on beautiful paradise vacation, having monthly support, so she don't need to break her head, how to educate children, doing what's important for her. Obviously, children will be always, number one and the most important for her. She's investing in them. But I don't know. I mean, the heartbreaking thing for me that, these children, they see what mother do and they take this, as a normal, this lifestyle when you have, sponsors and I don't know. this is.
I can also concur about what Elias is saying here, that I have personal experience where in 6 months of 6 months of relationship won't take you to see the parents. And this is the kiss of death. It's a clear telltale that there's no future. Personal experience. So he's right on there.
His fiancé took on the second date to mother.
Second date. That's pretty quick. That's unusually quick. But after 6 months, 6 months of living in the same city, for example. So what are you thinking? What are you feeling at this time? Are you feeling this is a relationship that you still want to pursue, or what are you feeling?
Well, one of the problems that I have, one thing that we haven't really talked about, maybe Elias and Jean-Francois and the rest of the guys that are listening can pipe in on this. One of the things that really disturbs me, in addition to everything that's been mentioned, is that there are two sides to this relationship. Yeah, there's everything that she's experiencing with the crisis in Ukraine and the fact that she's had to traverse Europe for the last 7 months and stay in, little dinky apartments and, communal type living and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's all that. But at the same time, there's my side of the story. I'm an individual that's been supporting her for the better part of 3 years now. I've established my intent, and I've been very sincere. I've been of open heart, obviously very generous, and it's been consistent. It's never been wavering. There's never been any doubt. So what is really disturbing me right now is the fact that with that as a backdrop, this communication can just fall off a cliff. And she says these things about, being called up for this, military support help and all that. But she's not asking me anything about how I'm doing. Are my emotions okay, or anything along those lines? And that's really disconcerting to me, because the type of woman that I want to be with should be concerned about my feelings and what. Now I'm not getting any of that. All I've heard, like when Anna read that stuff, it's just about, oh, my world is turned upside down. Everything has changed. It's just me. It's nothing about Gerry. How are you coping with this? Because she's aware that I went, there are a hell of a lot of preparations and arranging her passage over here, trying to get this little space that we have set up for her and the kids and all that kind of stuff, So, but that hasn't been brought into any of the communications at all. It's just been tunnel vision, just about her and this terrible situation and what she's going to have to do because of it. So,
Gerry, for me, the bottom line here, that she don't want to leave Ukraine. Even she was trying, when she left Ukraine to Europe, in Poland, she feels not good because no Ukrainian people around. So she goes so far away in Ireland to make a society of Ukrainian people. This is her real intention, to live in Ukraine, or at least in around Ukrainian people. And USA culture, where she will live, this is not Ukrainian people around.
Right.
And it is her priority, we can she has a relationship with you, but this is distance relationship. This is not, this is not real. This is not real, because real is when you wake up together, when you go to sleep together, when you spend time together, when you experience, full. This is. From man's side, of course, you invest money, invest in budget, you invest time, you think it's real, but unfortunately, if women.
But see, I hear what you're saying, but on the other side of the coin, I just remember those instances when I was prepping the K1 process, when I was applying for Uniting for Ukraine, and constantly she would ask me, where are you with this process? Did you get this document done? Are you at the next step? This. So
I can tell you why she was doing. I can tell you why. Because this is ticket for her to America. Maybe she will come and be not with you, but she will get there. And then she will figure out things, Maybe
Yeah, I mean
find
that's a common thing.
let's
That's
face
a
it,
common thing that's
you have
happened.
20 years age gap. This is again, this
Yeah,
is very
yeah.
super cautious, you know, about this is not normal age gap for most of Ukraine. We have 20 years age gap, and I know guys all time, like, you know, angry at me when I tell them, please, not more than 15. They say, but you
Right,
have.
right.
I didn't meet through agency, you know, and when I met Joe, I didn't know his age. And
Yeah, but Joseph is a diamond
I
in the rough.
tracked her.
he was looked a little bit different. So I mean, in the mind of Ukrainian women, it's not. This is, they want age gap like 5-7 years age gap. You know, if women open to 15, this is a lot, and this is like cool, you know. But even 20, this is already, this is like questionable. What is really sincere intention out there, you know?
I want to just add this because you should notice this. Yeah, because what found all this information. So in one campsite, it looks like she was stopped 2 weeks later. So I mean, hey, listen, do you want to judge somebody because they were a cam girl? I mean,
yeah, like I said, that was yeah, that's the thing. Like I looked pretty hard at those sites to determine what the activity was. And like, once again, even the site that I met her on, and I everything just sort of stopped in its tracks.
No, the bottom line doesn't matter if she's a, you know, professional scammer, or she just Ukrainian women who don't want to leave Ukraine. This is bottom line, you know. This is the, unless you want to move to Ukraine and try to chase her. But I don't think she will be excited with these shoes. Honestly, because I don't see feelings out there. I don't see feelings in message to you. I don't see any care about you, about what you feel. And I see here
that's what I noticed too.
This, you know, spinning, and this is the thing, you know. I don't know if she's scammer or not scammer, but I mean, just, you know, looking for a comfortable life when somebody will support, and she's have her freedom to do what she wants, date whom she wants. You know, young woman, live for so long, meeting you one time in a year, you know, what she's doing the rest of her time, you know.
Here's Gerry.
I mean,
20 years.
I read what Jack just wrote, and my common sense tells me to kind of my heart tells me to think of something else. But Jack, yeah, I tend to agree with what you're saying, because I mean, this is a war. How many of us have had to go through war experiences, and why wouldn't you take advantage of a free opportunity to get the hell out of there and be in, you know, a safe and, you know, a nice safe sanctuary? So that's an issue unto itself.
So a couple of things. Are you going to cut off the support immediately?
Oh yes, yeah. The sport is finished for sure.
Okay. Next question.
Yeah.
How do you feel that do you feel that you're able to let go and move on based on this information? Because, you know, she's not going to talk. You can't, if you bring up any of these points now and question this, that, or the other thing, you're just going to get stonewalled. So this is it. This is what you've got to go on. Do you have enough to make a decision, or do you need to go to Poltava one last time to see her eye to eye in order to let go? This is a question. I think a serious question you should think about.
Before you will answer, I want to just remind you that this is a lie. She can leave now, Ukraine. It's a lie. She can leave. She just don't leave it.
Yeah, she's lying. Yeah, she's lying to stay. Yeah.
When I spoke to this lawyer in Poltava, he said that she cannot leave.
No.
You just heard.
See, I honestly, I got really confused, because I went online and I saw information. I saw the list of professions that they're considering skilled professions, and I read something about October 1st. This law was implemented just Saturday. This was implemented. And anyone who met this criteria with this educational background or professional skill set, they were mandated to be available to support for service. So I'm hearing all sorts of different things. And when I talked to the lawyer, he concurred with that. So he did say that.
Lawyer?
Yeah. Sorry?
Lawyers in Ukraine are bloody useless. Okay, so this guy that left me the message, right? He's a very, very trusted advisor in Ukraine with a lot of.
Okay. So he's.
I could see how it's confusing because the law was going to come in for October 1st this year, but they bumped it to come into effect October 1st, 2023. So it's bumped. So
I don't think policeman was mentioned there actually in this list. So. I'm not sure.
Well, they had it under federal security or something like that. It was some weird title. But I mean, they had veterinary hygienist on the list. I mean, the list had about 300 different professions. You know, people cleaning dogs. So
this is easy for her now to come up with this lie. Because
that's
you really want to.
It's a perfect cover.
With you, yeah. She already be with you. She just, you know, all of a sudden, last minute, when ticket bought, she wants to show that she has intention, you know, to come, but she yet never discuss how her life. You know, she's coming with you. Don't talk about nothing. You know, no plan. This is obviously she knew she's not going to go, but she will need to think and proceed. You know, she will come up with next slide. What will be, you know.
Right.
And this is what takes time.
So again, back to the question. I think I would say, you know, can you let go based on this information that you have now, or do you need to go see her to be able to?
I honestly don't necessarily want to travel to Ukraine. I don't want to put that much. I mean, not just because of the war, but I don't think it's going to take that much for me to make this decision, because when I listen to you guys have a slightly different perspectives on this. Anna is very absolute in terms of what she's telling me and how she's feeling about this situation. And this is the first time I've sort of heard that perspective. So it's going to take me a little while to process. I think Jack was on board. And most of the commenters were kind of on board with what happened.
Yeah, they're all next.
Yeah, they're saying out of there. I think I can't remember who it was that I should just take a nice 2-week holiday to Thailand and enjoy myself and forget about her. And sometimes that's what it takes. That's what it takes, you know. I remember once upon a time I was in a bad breakup when I lived in California, and I just flew down to Antigua for about 10 days and just drank rum and relaxed on the beach. And when I came back to California, I didn't have a care in the world. So sometimes. You know, that's really what it takes to clear the head. Who's this, Elias?
Yeah.
Been in 2 layers. What's his name? Yeah, I think right now I just kind of want to go cold turkey and just see what happens over these next couple weeks and what type of if I get any kind of response. Maybe there's going to be nothing. Maybe the message I sent you, Anna, from yesterday, maybe that's the last message. And if that's the case, like if I don't hear anything over the next week or so, then everything is kaput. But on the other hand, if I read something else that's more explanatory and has it, then who knows? I might. I don't know. I mean, it's hard when you're in the middle of it and when you've invested so much of your heart for. I mean, 4 years is a hell of a long time. It's not like this is a 6-month or 1-year relationship. You know, we've been through a lot together, and a lot of the stuff was very, very good. Like what we're kind of focusing on here is a lot of the so-called red flags and a lot of the negativity, but there was a lot of stuff that happened that was really, really good, really positive. So I don't know. I'm still trying to come to terms with what you said, Anna, about the fact that she never really wanted to leave, because I hear that, and those are what the indications are based on what's been happening these last 3 months. But at the same time, before those 3 months, there was never any kind of indication like that, you know?
Yeah, to me,
so I don't.
It's absolutely clear that something happened. Something
definitely
there was
happened.
a demarcation there in her behavior. Something happened. Something changed. But now, for whatever reason, she's checked out. It's clear she's checked out. She does not want to be with you.
Yeah.
But she's lying to cover it, because that's pretty common in Ukraine. They don't want to hurt feelings, so they do.
Yeah, and that could be it, because she invested a lot of time into this. And you know, one experience I didn't really share in the beginning is on one of my trips, I had a pretty severe back injury just prior to leaving the United States. I was packing my bag and I did something stupid. I didn't bend with my legs. I just went down like this, and I just heard a pop in my back, and I was in agony for, well, I'm just, years later, I'm still dealing with, you know, the occasional pain and so forth. But when I got to Kyiv on that trip, I could barely stand up. You know, I could barely walk in the streets. I was having to prop myself up against buildings. It was that L29 vertebrae or whatever. You know, I got that pinch going on. It was horrible. I actually had to be taken to a hospital in Kyiv. An ambulance came. They gave me a shot in my butt to mitigate the pain, and they whisked me off. And I saw how she reacted during that process. She was so concerned, so caring, dealing with the doctors and nurses. After I was released, making sure I was okay, and so forth. I just saw this natural sort of instinct come out. And it was after that that I was kind of sold on her, you know, because she didn't have to put that much into it. And it was just coming from her heart, you know. So when I remember experiences like that, it makes it really difficult, you know. So I don't know. And
you know, Gerry, the reason I'm
Brian, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm trying to believe the fantasy.
Yeah,
your brain
and this is Gerry, why I'm being nice, as John Francis commented. Joe's being too nice. Why it looks like I'm being nice is because I already put myself in your shoes, and I'm asking the question, what is it going to take for you to accept this? Yeah, and that's why I'm kind of trying to cover all the grounds to see.
Oh, what is it going to take for me to accept a negative outcome?
To accept that she has decided she
doesn't
want you. She's clearly.
Oh yeah. No, it's honestly, it's not going to take that much. I think if the next few days go by and there's nothing, or if there's very, and it's just like I'm saying, this kind of robotic, cold type of dialogue, then that's my answer right there. You know, I'm not willing to go much past, let's say, the weekend.
That's 100%. It's going to be so cold from here on out, because she's.
Yeah, no, I'm not engaging. I'm not reaching out saying, "Oh, please," or anything like that.
You guys very naive, both of you. You know, you don't know.
Really? Okay.
Yes, she will keep one month, then she will be again nice and kitty, you know, smiling.
Oh, for more money, you mean? For more money?
Yes, she will continue her scam. I see so many guys being scammed hardly, and then they realize it's scam. But then when women call them like this back, they go back and they again continue. This story will be continue here.
Yeah, no, I thought
love. Yeah, you can buy love. Yeah, it's not possible, you know.
I thought about that, Anna. I thought about that because we had a schedule, right? We playfully called it I hate to say this, we called it a salary, right? The salary was paid on a certain day. It was very consistent each day of the month. The so-called salary date is coming up, I think, on Monday or something like that, right?
Okay.
So if in the back of my mind, I'm kind of expecting that these playful text messages are going to come up, or somehow miraculously on Saturday, the bandwidth is going to open up again in Poltava, and she'll be able to chat and so forth, and everything's going to be hunky-dory.
Read this, please, Gerry. Read, this is for you.
I'll listen to Anna. She's right. Still tries to come back.
Yeah, come back.
Now,
you are like a milk, you know, cow.
But, well, my question to Elias, was she coming back because you were consistently sponsoring her?
So my 2 bits, we'll see who's right in the end, but I'm reading that she feels guilty. She's cut you loose now. I don't think she'll ask for money anymore, but that's my opinion. We'll see. It's possible she could try to you know, lead you on, continue, but she's milked you for 4.5, well, okay, 3 years, right? 3 years.
Better time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue. She's now in difficult situation. You know, she have to serve in the army, but then again will be new came up. Why?
What I don't like the most is I get the feeling that she has multiple sponsors. I get this feeling.
Yeah, that's guys you don't understand.
But I will get a lot of intel when I talk to these two marriage agency owners, if they will talk to me. That is.
Yeah, to that, maybe I really have no. I've never. I mean, it's possible. I'm not going to say that 100% that that's not the case. I've just never, in all the time that I've spent with her, I've never seen any type of surreptitious communications going on, or on her phone, or anything like that. So I don't know, but you know, I wouldn't at this point. I wouldn't be shocked about anything.
Please listen to Anna.
Jean Francis Roll, she won't ask. She will make Gerry to offer her. Yes, that's what women do. She, you know, I mean, actually, this.
Well, this is true. This is true.
Women do, you know, but I mean, but one is do this, you know, loving her man, and another just using him. This is different, you know, type of relationship. But all women. Right. Remember?
Right.
What? She just makes sad face, and yeah, she make it. What dark can make you happy? And you know, if you will help me to sort out my things, you know, I have a lot of problems. Yeah.
No, she's not on contract.
No, guys.
No, she's not active with the police guys. She quit a long time ago.
Please.
Yeah, she quit a long time ago, but she's supposed to be starting this non-combat military service very shortly.
Guys,
she does. She has the owl glasses for a reason.
Right. Guys, listen. You just don't understand. If everybody knew that this law will be from 1st of October, she purposely sit there to make this, to came up with this plan as an excuse. Because if she would really want to be, she already flew to you in July. You know. This is what
that's what some people here, some Ukrainian folks here, apparently were aware of this law, and they knew about it. They said, we've known about this that this might happen for a while. She said that it was implemented based in response to the Russian mobilization, that Ukraine ramped up their support, and they also ramped up their recruitment. And this position is supposed to be supporting the onboarding of these recruits. But everyone that we reached out to here in Minnesota said, well, look, we've known about this for a while. There's no way that she would not have
long time ago I know about
yeah.
No, if woman really wants to go to, and she find out about this, she live in Ukraine, she follow news. All Ukrainian people, you know, especially if you live in Ukraine, follow news. She know about this. If she really wants to go to her, she won't come back to Ukraine because she don't want to stay because of this law. If it even works, but I don't believe it works.
It's a good point.
I sent today, you know, Joe was so much worried after he talked to you first time, and he told me about what happened. I started to call all my friends who is now in Ukraine. I said, listen, did you hear about this? Like, what profession you have? Listen, there is one girl, she cannot get out. Like, I was so much worried, you know, I was, you know, compassionate about this story.
Yeah.
When we start to dig what's going on, all my friends respond to me, you know, there's no problem what you talk about, you know. Never heard about like you get notification or something. I have actually a girl in police, I can ask her, you know, I can find her contact. It's from long time ago. We was working in the same company. Yeah. Anyway, this is like everybody was looking at me like I'm, you know, tutu. I am living in Mexico, I don't know what's going on in Ukraine. So this is just bullshit.
I want to ask you a question.
Oh.
Why did you break down and cry when you heard this story?
Don't want.
Honest.
Because Gerry is such a nice, his father, he has children, you know, and they know, children know the truth, you know, they sense everything they see, but, you know, Gerry wants to believe in this, you know, that it's real, but even children can see it's not real, but we don't, you know, sometimes people prefer to live in a fantasy and we cannot help, you know.
Yeah.
Even unknown person, unknown loyal, ask you the same question. Why she didn't flew to her immediately?
Yeah.
This is logical question. But
yeah, my daughter, my oldest daughter, who's a businesswoman, she's very pragmatic and very to the point, very sort of Americanized, serious woman. She knows her. I mean, they've met a few times on chat and so forth, and she really, really likes her. They've had nice conversations. But, you know, when I talk to her about this and kind of explain things, and of course I tend to rationalize, I come up with some sort of possibility. And, you know, my daughter says, well, yeah, number one, we don't really know how people react in this type of crisis because it's a horrible thing. I can't imagine going outside of my house and hearing bombs exploding 100 kilometers away. It's just not something in North America.
Air raid siren all day. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I mean, in when I was in Ottawa, of course, I'd hear crazy shenanigans going on in Jean-Francois's Hull, Quebec. He's not from Hull, but anyway, on the Quebec side, lots of crazy things. But anyway, I could deal with that stuff. Sorry, Jean-Francois, just teasing the Québécois. But vive le Quebec. But so I try to give her the benefit of the doubt in terms of her experience. But, you know, now that I listen to you guys and I read a lot of the comments, and I think I was reading Tess a little earlier, and he says it's time to kind of give up the fantasy and all this kind of stuff. It's probably true. And I think that's probably going to happen, you know, within the next week or so. I'm not really prepared for the best because I don't think it's going to happen. I'm kind of expecting the worst in this scenario. I don't think it's going to play out well. I honestly don't think that there's going to be any re-engaging communication, trying to get back on track in terms of support and all that. I just have a feeling that's it.
For the record, Gerry, you're a stand-up gentleman. You deserve much better. That you cut and bail from this because, yeah, it's toxic.
Well, that means I have to talk to you, Joe and Anna, because I will need help.
What website?
Well, we're here for you. Well, guys, the website is in the intro video, the first 1 minute. So just go back, rewind, and that's the website.
Free website.
Tell us about it's a nominal fee, right? $20 a month or something.
Yeah, like something like that. That was like of all the sites. I'm familiar with every site that you showed, but that site, maybe the Canadian one, were the only ones that I deemed to be somewhat legitimate. All the others were more or less scam sites, PPL type sites. But with that said, I found that even on the best sites, you have to do your due diligence and really read between the lines and you know, and dealing with a lot of these people because there's so many that are just coming on for nefarious reasons and trying to take advantage. So, you know, maybe after 4 years, maybe I was in that boat too. Who knows? But we'll find out soon.
98%. The litmus test is any site that's charging for communication. You know, letter writing, opening photos, stuff like that. Anybody that's charging online is a scammer. That's 98% accurate.
Right.
There's a few outliers, but it's
I never engaged any of those types of sites. Any of the pay for chat or pay for communication.
This site, when you met her, you said you did video chatting with her. Was that on the site? I thought you said that.
No, just immediately within a few days, just went offline and just started left the site and just started communicating directly.
Yeah, it's like similar to Ukraine Date, you know, stuff like this. But the problem with these nominal fee, free or nominal fee sites is that they're 80% scammers, and that's what the scam expert Dima, this comes from him, is that's where the pro scammers go. And I don't wish them on my worst night. I don't know.
They are there. I'm gonna contradict that a little bit because there are tons of scammers. Like I met on those sites tons of scammers. You know, like I met a woman from Odessa. At least she was upfront about it. You know, I talked to her about her expectations, what she was looking for, and the first thing she said is, "I'm looking for a man that's not greedy." And I go, "Greedy?" You know, because we have kind of a different usage of that word in English, right?
Yeah.
And I go, what do you mean by not greedy? And she goes, well, you know, for example, when he comes to visit me, this is what I expect. And she enumerated all of these things. Essentially, it was the best restaurants in Odessa. She wanted to go shopping consistently. And I go, well, wait a second. You're trying to meet this guy and understand what he's all about. Why is it such a concern to you where he takes you to shop and what he buys you? And she says, oh, the generosity of the man shows how he truly feels about me and whatnot. And I followed up with her about a year later. I said, had she met anybody? She said, yeah, one gentleman came from Germany. And I said, how did it go? She said, well, the first day was wonderful. And the second day, everything broke down. I said, what happened the second day? Well, he didn't want to go shopping with me. The first day, we're going to nice restaurants and magazines, you know, to shop and so forth. The second day, he questioned it. He said, why am I spending so much money on you every day? I just want to get to know you, not buy you trinkets, you know? And so they had a big fight, and I think within 3 days he was back to Germany. But
where did you meet this girl you're talking about? Where did you meet her? What site?
I don't remember it wasn't a paper letter site. It might have been just a regular one-time fee site. But I've met good women on those sites, and I've met some very unscrupulous people too. You know, I've seen all sorts of scams whereby you're talking to them offline on video chat for like weeks, and everything's going along swimmingly well, and then all of a sudden they say, oh, I can't talk for too long today because I'm not feeling well. You say, oh, what's the problem? My mouth, it's feeling really bad, but I'll talk to you. So they talk to you, right? And then the next day, oh, we can't talk today because excruciating pain in my mouth. And then on the third day, she's saying, I can't sleep, I can't do anything, I need to go to the dentist, I can't afford the dentist. And she's asking you for $400 to have the tooth extracted, or to have a root canal or whatever. And that was, that was kind of a one-off. But I had that experience with her, to research on my own, using her images, and then I found out that there are about 3 other guys that had the exact same experience. So
here's an important comment. So John Lee, if I'm thinking who this is, he's an expat that lives in Kyiv for 20 years. So he just verified with the government postponed the program to 2023, or the
that's what I read too. I did read that. And
he just said his friends in Kyiv or in Ukraine told me. So yeah, it's she's just using this to snow job you. Yeah.
Of course, Joseph. There's too many things around, you know.
Yeah.
Too many things. No planning. No desire to go. And it was from the beginning. I see that.
So. Yeah. So, Gerry, do you have any questions for any of us to wrap it up? Any? Of course, we'll be here.
No, I don't think so. Honestly speaking, I think what you guys illuminated for me was really helpful, and I'm gonna let it sink in. And I think everyone that sent comments, everyone pretty much concurred, especially with what Anna was saying. 57 to 1.
And Elena is 37. 37 to 57. Yeah.
Right. So 20-year difference. So I'm just going to let it sink in, and time sort of heals all, and I'm just gonna deal with it. But at this point, like Tesh was telling me, I think it's time to give up the fantasy. So that's the direction that I'm headed in. So thank you, Tesh. Hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. Sorry?
Be twice cautious now about what will be.
Oh, for sure. And I've been, Joe knows my history. I mean, I was involved with a woman from Siberia for a long time. I mean, there was nothing like that with her. I mean, that ended just for natural reasons that any relationship would end for, but that might cause any relationship to end. But this is a different circumstance. It's just. But anyway, I appreciate all this being kind of presented to me and giving me a different perspective on it, because as you guys know, I'm speaking to the viewers, You know, when you're in a situation, when your heart's involved, when you've invested so much into it, it's really difficult just to go cold turkey and just cut it off and move in a different direction. It's just, you know, you get that, what's it called?
Palpitations.
Well, no, when you're just used to, there's some psychological term for it that's not coming to mind right now, but codependency.
You want to justify.
You have a codependency because you're used to their mannerisms and the good things, the bad things, and you just become, you know, kind of attached to that person, and it's easier said than done when it's time to kind of look the other way. John, I assume Jack is John.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jack. I appreciate
think you
it.
deserve a woman who will be with you in real relationship, who will love you and take care about you, and you will be a great, you know, be that rock for her, you know. And woman.
Well, that's what I was hoping for here, and I didn't. That's why I'm kind of sad, because I didn't do anything to give her any other type of negative indications, you know. So that's why it's really disappointing, you know, because I went the extra mile to provide her with security and happiness and all of this stuff, and
please, this is
the thanks I get. So
sorry, Test, but you're not right here, my friend. We know better. It would help our business if we would lie and tell you that, but it's not true. It's possible. It's possible, but not probable for most guys. And the scam industry wants you to believe what you're saying.
They already asked where you.
That guy, yeah. Another guy being scammed by a 23-year-old. But we'll leave that topic to another day. Yeah, my friend, you are a high quality man. Hold your head high. You will meet the right lady for you.
Right.
Don't give up, like John Francis.
No, I'm.
You're going to go through a period of loss, right? The 5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
It's natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drink lots of vodka, you know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll veer off to tequila for a little while.
Go to Thailand for a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember who suggested that, but yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Come to Mexico, Cancun.
Yeah. Mexico is a little bit easier to.
23-year-old younger Igor. Exactly. Janet's got good advice.
Yeah.
Well, thanks guys. Any final comments for Jer here? Any final support comments or questions? Anything before we let? Almost 3 hours. Almost.
Yeah, Jean-Francois, you should be bringing some nice caribous down this way. You know what a caribou is?
A caribou.
Caribou. It's a good Carnival Québécois strong drink with I think it's rum and
okay.
Rum and whiskey and something else.
What's wrong with me living in
Mexico? Just go to Quebec City and they'll teach you all about caribous.
It's in Canada. I see. I saw that in Mexico. I see. Okay, because here margarita. Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of margaritas here. Lots of margaritas.
Get over. Yeah. The advice to go. This much guarantee. Just you need to grow through pain.
Well, we'll cut it off at 3 hours then. Yeah, all the best, my friend. Stay in touch. Yeah, and when you're ready to get back on the horse, who are you gonna call?
Well, we know who I'm gonna call. There's no doubt about that, man. You guys have been here for me in an unsolicited way for a long time, so I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you both setting up this impromptu session. For me, it was great. It did wonders. And to all the viewers, thank you so much for all your comments and input and the direction you gave me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I hope you heal quickly.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is what you need, healing.
Thank you.
Mark,
appreciate it.
Mark, I can only talk to you when we're live. You never answer my calls again. Mark, I keep calling this guy. He's a past client. I want him to come back for free, and he doesn't.
Mark, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Mark, come on back for free. Get back on the horse. All right. All right, my friend. Well, we'll sign off then. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take care. Yeah. And
Okay, you guys. Thanks so much, Anna. Joe, I really appreciate it.
Some will be again
It's our pleasure.
concerns or some strange things. You will, maybe you.
Yeah,
will...
I'll forward if anything comes up that I might need a little. I'll definitely forward it out. Appreciate that.
Okay.
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 Okay. Have a good
Okay,
night.
you guys. Bye, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'll go.